Hey, I'll tell you what. Come with me.
All right, welcome to MovieStrange. How's it going, Drew?
It's going well. How are you doing, Ralph?
You know, living the dream. Like I say that every time, but you know, this COVID just keeps going. I don't think I'm going back to the office till January. You're working every day in an office still? Yeah, that's what they're saying.
I am, but we're in masks all day.
Yeah.
Unless we're alone at our desks, we're in masks. And I mean, you know, I don't enjoy that, but that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And if they give us boosters, I'll get one of those too.
Yeah. So. You had Moderna, right? Moderna seems pretty solid right now. So
let's see. I did.
Happens.
I had Moderna.
Yeah.
Here's my Moderna.
Yep. I have one of those.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, even the news about the boosters today is a lot of it is like it will into the 90th percentile of things will avoid severe illness.
That's great.
If you get sick and you don't have to go to the hospital and you don't die, I mean, why are you complaining about it?
It's amazing that anybody complains about it. Anybody, you know, and these are the same people who won't take the shot, but maybe we'll go get ivermectin or whatever the hell else, some other whatever.
Horse paste, yeah.
Yeah, it boggles my mind. All right, anyway.
Now, are you talking about that because you're not excited to talk about today's film?
I'm interested in talking about today's film. It's underwhelming, but we'll talk about it. I mean, it's, you know, like I told you earlier, when I saw the runtime, I was like, oh my God, I really got to invest in this one. And I don't mind long films if they're paced well.
Right. Well, I mean, 2 hours and 3 minutes isn't really a long film to me. It depends, like you said, on the way that the film goes. Like Mad Max Fury Road is almost exactly 2 hours.
Yeah, I know, but you don't feel it.
A lot faster.
Yeah, you don't feel it.
Faster than
I felt every second of this one. And I imagine that's probably why we're talking about it. Nobody else does. So anyway, let me show the words from last week.
Yes.
There it is. Snuff film, unreleased legend. And I guess legend meaning nobody saw it. Is that what you meant by that?
Well, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about this in detail, but I was at the 1997 Cannes Film Festival. So I saw this movie in France with the world premiere. Mm-hmm. And I saw it and it was like this, what am I watching bizarre thing. And it got a standing ovation because everything does. Yeah. And then all the reviews were like, oh no, that is a very bad movie. And Johnny Depp was so upset about some of the feedback that he actually never released it in the United States. Right. And
I also read that he admitted that perhaps it might have been a tad too long.
I mean, the length is one of the problems with the movie. It's right. Kind of, I mean, he was a big movie star. Yeah. And when you can make your own movie, you know, it doesn't have to be a personal movie, but this clearly was a personal movie. This was not a movie he came up with to direct and said, this is going to be, you know, a gigantic Tim Burton blockbuster type of movie. It's obviously very personal to him. And it's based on a book, The Brave, by the author of Fletch, which is super weird. Yeah. I actually, I read the book last night. And,
The Brave? You read The Brave last night or Fletch?
Yeah, it's like The Brave. It's like 250 pages or something. It's not that long. And it's pretty dark. There's some substitutions in certain scenes where you say, okay, well, they did this instead of that, but it's basically the same premise, although even sadder, I guess. But do you want to show the trailer so people? Well, hey,
let me show the poster first, because who's that guy to his left in this poster?
I believe that's his co-star in two whole scenes, one of them with dialogue. Marlon Brando, who we know is a friend of Johnny Depp's. You know, they did Don Juan DeMarco together. And this was 1997, so this is the era of Marlon Brando's Dr. Moreau and The Score and all of these late career performances, many of which are memorable, not always as performances. Yeah,
he did this. Did he do this the same year as The Score? Remember The Score?
Well, I think The Score was 2001.
Okay.
And that was what was one of his last movies with Robert De Niro and Ed Norton.
Yeah, 2001.
And that's the movie. It was directed by Frank Oz, and they used to get in fights on the set. And Frank Oz is the puppeteer who did Yoda, among other things. Mm-hmm. And so apparently Marlon Brando would scream at him and say, "Why don't you put your hand up my ass, and work me? You're trying to control me too much," with the way he was directing him. So it sounded like a really fun set. And
all he did was sit around in his big And in this one, he's in a wheelchair with microphone.
He's in a wheelchair in this one. And was it the what was that movie called? It's not The Graduate, of course.
The Freshman.
It's The Freshman. Yeah, wasn't he in a chair in that one too, or something?
I think he was sitting, but he was basically playing the guy. He's playing Don Corleone in that one. You know.
Yeah. I mean, he's a giant guy. So
yeah.
I mean, my favorite. I mean, he's got some stuff going on in this movie that we'll talk about. But my favorite all-time lunatic Marlon Brando performance is in The Island of Dr. Moreau, because that whole movie is completely insane.
Right.
And I love it, and I'm so glad I got to see it in the theater.
Wow. But you saw this one live. So you saw this at Cannes, and it got a standing ovation.
I saw this at Cannes.
They're so polite, I guess.
With Johnny Depp. No, they're very enthusiastic. I mean, people love him. People love Michael Jackson over there that same way at the same festival. Yeah. The thing is, almost all of these big movies, they get a rapturous response. And some of them are really good. Like the year that I was there, Arnold Milchan, the producer, brought his movie that was not finished, that Warner Brothers said you cannot bring it to the festival. And he did. And it was LA Confidential. And that is to this day a fantastic movie.
Holy cow.
Adam Egoyan won the Grand Prix, I think, for The Sweet Hereafter, which is a movie with Ian Holm and Sarah Polley. I mean, like some really spectacular movies. And this is a movie that showed up with, it's Johnny Depp, and it's his directorial debut, and it has Marlon Brando, and it's about him getting in touch with his Native American roots, which is something he's always been kind of foggy about.
I was going to ask that. Does he have Native
or something?
Does he have Native American roots?
He's from Kentucky, and I guess I'm not accusing him of anything or not. Apparently, he's basically said over the years at different times through his grandmother in Kentucky, he has some Native American blood that's Cherokee or maybe it's Creek. And that's him having said those two names. I want to be clear. I'm not impugning him for that at all. I will impugn him for some of his filmmaking choices. But yeah, like I said, it's a very sort of small personal movie. And, I saw it in the Palais with thousands of people, and it was bizarre. And again, like you said, you do feel every minute of the 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, the good news is, I think the trailer is only 27 seconds long.
Oh, nice.
The one I found. So we got that going for us.
You see, there's pain when we come into the world at birth. So it's fitting that there should be pain at the end of it. It's a sort of transfiguration, a completion of an equation. It is the final measure of bravery to stand up to death. Exquisite anguish.
There you go. 28 seconds.
And honestly, it felt like 11. It really flew by. So.
And it's all Marlon Brando. So, and Brando didn't get paid for this. He did it as a favor. I guess he doesn't need it at that point.
I heard that he did it for free. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Johnny Depp in his career, he made, I think, genuine friendships with some of these artists and people that he likes and admires, and he wanted to work with or wanted to play with or whatever. I mean, like Keith Richards, is the inspiration for his Pirates of the Caribbean role, to the point where Keith Richards showed up in one of the sequels as like his father.
Yeah, and he's doing a documentary about Keith Richards. Johnny Depp.
Yeah. So I mean, he's associated himself with some very interesting people who are also eccentric, and let's be fair, so is he.
Yeah.
But he made this little movie.
Yeah. Why don't you synopsize the film for us? And
it's really easy. He is a Native American guy. He's got a wife and 2 kids. He's an ex-con. He's a drunk. He's got no job. He's got no prospects. His family lives in a literal junkyard,
right?
That is in danger of being closed down. And then they'll really have no place to go. And one day he's at a bar. This is right before the beginning of the movie. And he finds out that he could be in a movie for a 5-figure payout. And so he goes, the movie opens with him going to this warehouse where this person who's supposed to have this is, and he meets Marshall Bell, who most people might know as the guy who had Quato coming out of his stomach in Total Recall.
Right.
Marshall Bell is a great actor. He always brings a nice, weird vibe. So he's
definitely weird in this one.
Good choice. Yeah, very weird and very, there's a real violence to him. as opposed to just, man, that guy's unsettling. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen with this guy. And so he basically makes a deal with Johnny Depp that with Johnny Depp's character Raphael, not with Johnny Depp. If you appear in a snuff film, I'll give you, I think, $50,000.
Yeah, Marlon Brando's character, Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McCarthy.
Oh, right.
So Brando rolls out in some...
I guess the director.
Yeah, Brando rolls out in a wheelchair with microphones and all kinds of weird attachments.
And plays his harmonica.
Yep. And basically says, yep. And that line in the trailer was basically it. You have pain when you come in. You're going to have pain when you go out. Are you willing to do this? And Johnny Depp did the film because of the sacrifice that a father would make and a husband would make for his family. Is what he said.
Right. I mean, the way that he looks at it is, I can't do anything better for my family. If I die, these guys, I hope, will pay my family enough money to get them out of where they are forever and give them a fresh start. I mean, his family is so sad that his son, I guess their kids are like, I don't know, 8 and 5 or something. His son has said he would rather sleep because being awake is too depressing for him.
Yeah, and they kept showing the same. Yeah.
And if you look at their life in the movie, it's awful.
Well,
it's
like you
sad.
said, they live in a junkyard. Everybody's picking at the new junk that's coming in. They keep showing that they live in a little camper, and they keep showing the fan sitting with big tray of ice cubes. That's their air conditioning. Yeah, I mean, they definitely play up how sad and decrepit this lifestyle is, and they happen to live with a bunch of people. And it's like the basement of the Titanic, right? It's always poor people that live in squalor, but they're happy people, and they're all just doing the best they can to make it. And he's got his buddy down the street, Frederick Forrest, plays some, I guess he's drilling for oil with Max Perlich in the wheel.
There's some weird random casting that I think comes in on the same train as being able to cast Brando and stuff. I mean, let me back up to a larger thing. This movie, and this isn't a criticism. It's going to sound like a criticism as I say it, but it's not just a criticism. The movie is very, very 1990s. In terms of the people that are in it, and that this is the kind of movie that was made. I mean, it's like, this is a movie at the Cannes Film Festival, but it's tiny little independent film. You have to remember, independent film was like this big deal that was really pushing the edge of things. And this is a movie where Johnny Depp is going to be in a snuff film, and that's the only way he can save his family, and he gets a last week with his family, and will he do it? I had no doubt the whole movie that he was going to do it. I mean, I don't know if that was supposed to be part of it. I think he spent the week giving his family some pleasures and some nice opportunities, and protected them and settled some scores, and then he went back to the warehouse. Of course, you don't see in the movie the snuff film itself, but
and that's
I feel
the
comfortable
problem.
saying that's what happened.
That's one of the problems I had with the film.
Well, then,
not that I want to see
Why
a
was
snuff
that a
film.
problem?
I just wanted to see the situation he got himself in. And I guess I do that. They end with he goes in the elevator. All we see is the doors close. Okay. Pretty dramatic.
Right.
But
there's pretty music playing.
And I thought he was going to get out of it. I thought he was going to get out of it. I thought because of the way that guy was tormenting him, you've got what's his Bell? What's
Marshall
his name?
Bell.
Marshall Bell.
In the movie.
He was tormenting him a little too much, I felt, that Johnny Depp was going to. But again, to be true to his character in his movie, he didn't do that. But in my brain,
Marshall Bell was giving him some good Jesusing. He gave him stigmata through his hand. Like, you know, I get it. He's going to die for his family. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yep. But again, back to Frederick Forrest, who happened to be in Apocalypse Now with Marlon Brando. I mean, there's all these weird connections.
Yeah. Max Perlich is a very 90s
unrecognizable actor. As Max Perlich. I mean, I like it. And he's in Blow with Johnny Depp. He ends up playing
Louis Guzman.
Louis Guzman's in there playing Louis Guzman.
90s staple. Yeah, pretty much.
So I kind of I appreciate.
Did you recognize his wife? Elta Dia Carrillo.
No, what's
from
her?
The classic '80s family fun adventure Predator.
That's the one in Predator.
She's the woman in the jungle that they.
Oh my goodness gracious! You are right. Yeah. Oh wow! I had no idea.
She's pretty good in The Brave, but she doesn't have a lot to do in the movie.
No, she sleeps a lot, and
she
questions
sleeps a lot
him
because it's hot and sad.
Yeah,
yeah.
Wow, I had no idea. Wow, that's amazing. Wow,
that's her.
Good one.
That's her.
Here's my feeling as an editor. Okay, a film editor, video editor. He could have cut 45 minutes out of this thing.
Probably, yeah.
And it would have been fine. Now he's, obviously it's, he put his own money in, $2 million he had to put in. And, it's a Johnny Depp film. So he has these long, languid, walks with his son and walks with his wife and bus rides to the city that we have to see twice. And, there are scenes where you're seeing characters in a bar downtown. And for why he's even doing that, I have no idea. That weird scene where the faces are distorting as he's getting drunk. It's like no reason for that.
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about that, and I remember when I saw the movie that this occurred to me because I was actually at Cannes for my last college class with my film professor who I'd taken other courses with. He took us all there, and I got an A. Thank you. Well, but he had taught us, as you learn in a lot of these basic film study classes, and the movies I think are actually at the Anthropology Museum at the University of Pennsylvania, which is where I was in school, and it's basically the Navajo film themselves. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Are you familiar with that?
No.
In the 60s, it was basically like an anthropological experiment where Worth and Adair, I think are the name of the researchers, they gave some Navajo people some cameras and told them to basically make movies, tell stories.
I've heard of this. I've never
seen that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so it's just sort of an interesting thing to say, where culturally, how do stories get told differently. And one of the things that was characteristic of, I think, of several of the movies, which is what this reminded me of, is that the way they edited it. If I have in a movie that Ralph is going to leave his house and drive to my house, and we'll sit on the deck and have a drink, you might shoot it where you walk out of your house, you're driving in your car. Maybe you pull into my driveway and now we're having a drink. And the way that these people that made these movies told the story, if somebody was walking to the store, they showed them walking the whole time.
Right.
And there's a lot of walking.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be in the movie. And I don't know if that was maybe some sort of like homage he was trying to do to a certain a certain thing that's associated with Native American culture in movies.
Maybe.
I really don't know. It certainly isn't effective storytelling.
It's frustrating as hell. And, Hitchcock once said, you don't have to show a plane going, you just cut from let's say San Francisco to New York. You don't have to show a plane going left to right because everybody knows San Francisco and New York. I was telling you earlier, I just watched Night Moves, 70s film, Arthur Penn, Gene Hackman stars. And they do scenes where they cut, goes, I'm going to go to Florida. Boom, he's in Florida. You don't have to see all the travel in between. And I think
the guy who, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I think this film suffers from that. And if Johnny Depp's doing it because that's a Native American thing, filmmaking thing, then that's what he was doing. But it doesn't, you're 100% right. It does not help the film. And frankly, if I didn't have to watch it to talk about it, I would have shut it off.
I get that.
I did want to get through to the end to see what happens when he finally gets in there and has to deal with being tortured. And I guess I'm just being sick like that. But that's the only thing that would have kept me, okay, I want to see this because I thought he was going to turn the tables. But that's just my stupid movie mentality that you're expecting the guy to do that. And he didn't. So I kind of give him credit for holding,
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to expect a movie to tell a story that has a rising action and builds to a climax and satisfies you on some level. I mean, when I think of those kinds of edits, and they're just as fast, Guy Ritchie is famous for those kinds of things, like flying from LA to London in a second type of stuff, and it's a lot of fun. And
Edgar Wright does it all the time.
And Edgar Wright does that too. So I think that was not the editing philosophy.
No, this is a languid film. There was no way that if he did that, it would be like, why? What the hell? Have you ever seen Milagro Beanfield War?
I have.
Wars,
yes.
Directed by Robert Redford.
Robert Redford, yes.
I kept thinking of that film as I was watching this, which is it's sort of the same thing. I think that happens on a reservation or a bean farm, literally a bean farm. And that has quirky characters too, these outside the norm characters. But that film felt like it had a better rhythm to it. This one, it just felt like Johnny Depp wanted to show these scenes And like you said, the Frederick Forrest character, what was the point of that?
Well, let's
he
talk
doesn't
about
even
the
impact
tone of
he
that.
doesn't impact the film at all. He has no impact on this.
A lot
except
of people,
to give him
I
a drink.
guess,
A drink
I
of
guess
soda.
Are memorable. A drink of soda. A lot of people, I guess, are maybe supposed to be memorable in their scenes, but they don't really register with me. I was thinking, watching it again last night, that the beginning is actually pretty compelling.
It's
when
silent.
you find out what the premise of the movie. Well, I'm sorry, not that beginning.
Oh,
that beginning is a lot of walking and it's hot, and Iggy Pop's score is going. I mean, the beginning of the story when he enters the office of Marshall Bell, and so you
very
have,
creepy. Yeah, very creepy.
Well, you have creepy, but then you also have weird shit just to be weird, which feels very 90s to me. You've got a guy in the corner,
the dude in the
who's
corner,
babbling stuff and spitting nuts, and it almost felt like in some of the scenes, especially when they were, and he's in that bar scene that you were talking about. It's like Wild at Heart. It's kind of like David Lynch light. Yeah. And it's just weird to be weird. Like the Marshall Bell and Johnny Depp leave the office with the weirdo and they turn off the lights. They just leave him in the dark. Yeah. That's so weird, man. Yeah. And I found out that Johnny Depp, I'm going to mangle this at the time Yugoslavian director's name, Emir Kusturica. Johnny Depp had done a movie with him, Arizona Dream. And that's got kind of that vibe to it.
Oh, interesting.
And also kind of feels like it because I guess Johnny Depp hired a bunch of people that were on that movie, like DP, editor, different people, because I clearly wanted to emulate that movie that he had done before. And Kusturica is an interesting filmmaker. He actually won the Palme d'Or in 1995 for a movie called Underground, which I really like that movie. Basically, there's these brothers, and it's World War II, and they hide underground to escape from the Nazis. And then one of the brothers goes up and the war ends, but he doesn't tell his other brother. So the other brother is still underground, living a whole life with his whole family, building weapons to fight the Nazis that the brother up the top is selling and making money and living in communist Yugoslavia. And so, of course, the whole thing is metaphors about the destruction of Yugoslavia eating itself and all these different things. But it's just a humongous, crazy, bizarre film with a lot of brass band stuff and everything. Yeah. And I don't, and I think Arizona Dream has some of that energy. I think that's what Johnny Depp was going for with the weirdness, but it just didn't work for me at all.
And like you said, this never aired. Nobody saw this film in the United States, right? I don't even know how.
Well, he didn't want it released. It's not like he couldn't sell it.
Well, he was upset about the critics' reaction to it.
I'm sure somebody would have bought it and sold it and distributed it because this is a Johnny Depp movie. Yeah. But he was very upset. He took it very personally, and so I have it on Blu-ray. It's an edition from Germany. There are other editions. It's not a bootleg. It's an actual, a Blu-ray release that can play in this region. So it is a legitimate release. I have gotten some criticism from some people that I'm married to that I better make sure that we talk about movies that somebody can watch somewhere, which is fair. Yeah. And this is one of the movies that is definitely harder to get. And I don't know if it's worth reaching out and getting. I loaned you my Blu-ray so that you could watch it.
Right. It's only worth it because of Johnny Depp. But then it's got all these other like I don't care about Brando. Brando does that shtick. He was doing that shtick towards the end of his, just showing up and doing that, talking. But to see
and he improvised the whole thing. He improvised that whole speech.
Of course he does. Didn't he do that to all of the movie you were talking about?
He doesn't have time to remember anything.
No, yeah, it's just, he couldn't remember in The Godfather. They had cue cards on the back of people's jackets. But the guy we're talking about, Bell, he was so freaking creepy in that scene he does when Johnny Depp first meets him. That's an interesting scene to watch. Right now, the only thing, if you could eliminate the many times that somebody would say something to Johnny Depp and he just sit there for 20 seconds, looking. Then reacting.
Very Johnny Depping. Yeah, he's very handsome.
Okay, I don't know. Does he do that normally? I don't know. I'm so used to seeing him now in the Pirates and all this other stuff that he does.
I mean, the camera loves the guy. And
he's good.
1997. He's been a big star for 10 years at that point. I guess 21 Jump Street was late 80s. And but he's tried to go his own way at that point with some of the stuff that he did and everything. And he's it's weird that the same guy who made this movie to sort of explore his own roots as a Native American then played Tonto in the Lone Ranger movie, which is
And Bell actually calls him Tonto in this film.
Cartoonish.
He taunts
as an
him,
insult.
As an insult.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was like that. That character was interesting to watch, and frankly, there wasn't enough of him. And I wanted to see something on the back end happen to him, but of course, it didn't.
Well, let me say two things about that. One is you forgot to mention the wonderful scene. I mentioned that he gives Johnny Depp
in the van
stigmata. Right. He tells a wonderful story about how he saw a giant black crow fall off a billboard, and so he shit himself. And he describes the size of it and the color of it and stuff. And I am not sure what that has to do with anything other than I guess he's unsettling because it is weird.
Well, and the guy that we were talking about earlier, the crazy guy in the corner, was in the van, killed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right.
That's right. He'd killed him. Right.
Never explained. We don't know anything. The guy's just, he keeps just showing up and saying nasty shit, threatens his whole family, threatens to kill everybody and then eat them after he kills them. Right? He does that.
Yeah, no, so he's gonna kill them and I'm gonna fuck them and then I'm gonna eat them. And you believe him. That's the thing. He is genuinely menacing. You believe him.
I don't know what else. So, I've only known him in this one now and the one we talked about earlier, the
Total Recall.
Total Recall. What else is he like? He's got to be in a. Was he in Showgirls? Had to have been in Showgirls.
Let's see. I'll pull up his.
Had to have been. Yeah, throw that up.
He's in Starship Troopers. He's one of the generals that is terrified that his brain is going to get sucked out when the main characters arrive at an outpost that got overrun by the bugs.
Okay. I've seen him in a lot of stuff then because he
was in Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. He was in Capote.
Yeah.
Apparently he's in Reservation Dogs, that new show on FX that I just started watching. It's really good so far.
Oh, good.
He does a lot a lot of TV, and he's one of those guys that nobody remembers his name.
Well, this one I got to say, the creep meter was way up on this one, and was sort of for me a standout. And Louis Guzman, always great, great. And I like the little scene, the interplay he had with, I think that's Johnny Depp's dad, the Native American, the older guy there.
The character Floyd Red Crow Westerman.
Yeah, I think it was his father.
I think he's supposed to be Raphael's father.
Right.
I think, yeah.
And he has that nice scene with Louis Guzman where he hits him in the back of the head with the cane, and Louis Guzman's not a good guy. So, it just God, it just took forever.
Yeah.
And like I said, as an editor, I think I could cut a lot out of this thing and keep the pace going because Johnny Depp was just he's got to be in that edit room saying, stay on my face, stay on my face. This is what they want. They want my face.
Yeah.
Well, and nobody was in there going, come on.
I think that's what Ed Norton did with American History X.
Yeah.
And that came out as that's an incredible showcase of Ed Norton acting.
Yeah.
And this is an incredible showcase of Johnny Depp sitting. And it's not that compelling.
And then, like I said, Milagro Bean, there's a fantasy or a magical. What's the term? Magical
realism.
Magical realism that Milagro Beanfield Wars had. There was definitely something in that film that felt unreal, but you would buy it. So this whole thing where he gets some money and he builds that whole playground for his children.
Right.
And he's trying to be quirky and fun where he's pulling the stuff out of he keeps coming into that little camper they live in and he's pulling the TV. And it ends up that he creates this basic wonderland
for the whole community ultimately, which is nice.
That's right. It was fun. They had a big fiesta at the end.
I don't know
was playing
what the fuck Max Perlich is trying to do to that poor goat. But it's a nice thing for his community. I mean, they don't know it, but he's saying goodbye.
Yeah. And, the priest knew it. Oh, Lawrence Fishburne. We didn't even mention him playing the priest.
No, that was Clarence Williams.
That's it. I knew it. I knew I was going to do that. It's Clarence Williams III.
Cut that part out. It's 2021. Come on, man.
I know.
He's quite good. He's quite good.
He's actually quite believable.
Confession, and Johnny Depp tells him what's going on.
Yeah.
And then that father doesn't know how to respond to that, but reacts to it. And then also at the end, the junkyard where these people live is ultimately destroyed.
Right.
And you see him lose his faith. I almost think that if there was more of him and less walking, that would have been a little. And
frankly, the reason I got confused about him playing the priest is because I would expect him to be the one doing the torturing, doing the snuff film. because I'm used to seeing him.
Williams III.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm used to seeing him play these crazy. But he was quite believable as that priest, and you expect that he's going to turn and help Johnny Depp, and he's like, no, you're going to go kill yourself. I can't. I'm a priest.
It's a sin.
It's a sin. I can't do this. And he stuck to it.
But...
And then, like you said, at the end, he pulls the thing, that very symbolic, pulling the white thing out. I should know what that's called. I don't. I'm sorry.
Isn't it a collar?
It must be a collar. Yes.
Said the Jewish guy.
It's a white collar.
Isn't it a white collar?
Let's
call it. It's a father collar. Let's call it that.
Call it the white. He spent, Johnny Depp, that junkyard, they had to build that junkyard. He spent millions of dollars building that junkyard that they all were trancing around in and living in. And anyway, so I think he was trying to go for some magical realism or whatever we call it, and it didn't work.
Well, look,
for me.
We have talked a number of times in this show over our many episodes together about movies that really sell you on a certain mood,
right,
or feel or vibe. And I really like that when a movie does that, and it feels a certain way, and it feels that way consistently and deliberately. And this movie, I think, is trying to do that, and it just doesn't work for me. I don't have a problem with a movie being slow or even languid. I mean, John Sayles has never made a Michael Bay movie. His movies are slow.
True.
And they are sometimes atmospheric, but sometimes you could look at something like Matewan or Lone Star, and I mean, it feels real with very powerful stories and storytelling. But
no
it feels
complaints
real.
About those films at all.
So yeah, so Johnny Depp isn't trying to make some kind of fantasy. He does. I don't even know why he would do this. It's so weird. He does a like almost cartoonish Indians around the campfire kind of thing with Floyd Red Crow Westerman later in the movie with his father, like literally painting his face. I felt like I didn't get that, why that was still in the movie. But I mentioned the book. The book is actually quite a bit darker. The contract that Raphael signs is obviously a lie. His family is obviously not going to get anything. He can't read.
Yeah, this is a Faustian tale. He makes a deal with the devil, right?
There's no reward that's coming to his family. And in the
in the book there's no reward?
In the book it's in the movie I think it's reasonable to believe it's possible his family will get the money. I mean, I doubt it, but in the book his family is not going to get the money.
Oh wow.
And when if you read the book, and it's a well-regarded book, it's definitely different tone than the Fletch books. In the foreword or introduction, I can't remember his name, Gregory, the author. He says basically, because the chapters are letters instead of numbers, he said, so if you want to skip chapter C, you can. And that's okay, because it's really horrible and it's not for everyone. And I'm sorry I had to write it, but it's the story. And chapter C is the character that's essentially Marlon Brando's character, sits Johnny Depp's character, Raphael, in that chair, and then tells him what they're going to do to him in great detail. And it's really gross. I mean, it's like Hostel or something.
Wow.
And so you do know at the end of the movie when he returns that is what's going to happen to him. And, he's going to get tortured to death, and it's going to be quite horrible. And that's the same as the movie, except the movie doesn't feel that visceral. The movie wants to scare you with the feel of the set that Marlon Brando talks to him in and all that kind of stuff. But it's mostly just I can't emotionally really connect with it too much to feel.
Yeah, let me ask.
This is a great sacrifice, or what a tragedy. I mean, it's about. I mean, the movie is about how being poor sucks, and
except they're happy. Like I said, it's like the bottom of the Titanic.
They're happy.
That's where everybody's dancing and happy, but they're the first ones that are going to die. And little details. Okay, so the money that Brando gives him after the first meeting, he tells him you're going to get $50,000. Does he give him the 50 then, or is that just he gave him a little down payment?
He gives them a chunk of cash, and it's like spend it on your family and know that I'm real. And then see, and in the book, he leaves his house, he leaves his family sleeping, and he leaves a little bit of money and the contract, and he walks out of his house. He's going to take a bus to go into the city to do the film. That's how the book ends.
They actually had a written contract. He had a contract in the book.
The last page, and I'll tell you where to find it. You can throw it up if you want on the screen. The actual contract is a single page, that has like some numbers and a signature, and Raphael can't read or write, and so his name is misspelled, and he leaves that as, this is the contract, you go to these people who we wrote this official document with and you'll get your money. But I mean, it's a scrap of paper. Like it's much bleaker in that sense. Like he's going to die horribly and his family's not going to get anything out of it. So hopefully he had a nice week doing something for his family he never could do before. Because he's only 21, he's married, he's got 3 kids in the book.
Well, they imply that he just got out of jail too. That he just got out of jail.
Yeah, no, and he's been more than once, and that he's 3
which is a
loser
cliche
and all that
about.
stuff.
It's not a cliche. I mean, it's Native Americans on reservations. The other movie we saw, Wind River, did the same thing, where these guys have no life, and prison becomes another part of their life.
There's no opportunities for people, and if you can't work, then in this country we say, oh, it's your fault, you're lazy, when really there are no opportunities. I mean, the movie doesn't pretend anything other than these people are what is left after a great genocide, and they are at the very bottom of society, and most people don't care about them. And the movie does say these are people, they have families, they have ideas of what they'd like their life to be and stuff. But I mean, I hope we knew that already.
Yeah.
You know, it's not magical, poor people type of imagery like Beasts of the Southern Wild, which was a few years back, and got some Oscar attention. But it's not good, but it's not because it's stupid or careless or I kind of feel like
I think it's sincere.
I think I know why he made it. I wish he'd had you edit it.
Well, he needed someone to edit it.
Much tighter film.
I believe the editor probably literally had their hands tied, and
it's possible
because he had full control of the whole thing. He had final cut, and the studio
put
couldn't
your own
come in
money
and
in like that. Then
and that's fine. But he just needed someone to go, dude, we got to move this thing along. You can't like there's scenes literally could be lopped out that would not affect ultimately the movie at all, and just more Martin Bell. Is that his name? Bell. Whatever his name is,
Marshall
more
Bell.
of him.
Yeah, Marshall Bell.
More Marshall Bell, because he was just creepy as fuck.
Pretty threatening.
But I would not recommend this. It's a hard, every time I tell you this, when I recommend films to people, and if I happen to be sitting next to them, I get really weird about, oh my God, I hope they like this. This one, I would never say, let's go sit and watch this. No way. Now, yeah. Unlike your wife who says you should never, I like that we find that you're presenting films that A, might be hard to find, B, I've never heard of, because it's interesting. It opens up a whole other world. I mean, it made me interested in looking up some Johnny Depp other stuff that he might have directed, and seeing all these.
There wasn't much.
Not much.
There wasn't much.
But seeing the other actors in here and finding out that woman's a woman from Predator, that's cool as shit. I mean, that's some fun stuff. But as a movie, it doesn't hold up at all, and it's way too long and languid. Not languid in a good way. Languid in oh my God, do I have to see that bus go down that street again?
It's hot and sweaty and boring,
and he walks down the river, and he walks and is showing close up of his boots walking down the river, and then he does that whole scene where they're making love on rocks. Right? It's like, oh my God, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of my reaction to those types of scenes is, okay, I get it.
Yep.
I still get it.
Yep.
Why are we still doing this?
Right.
Well, you talked about, recommending a movie and being nervous about if someone would like it or not. And there's a part of this movie where Marlon Brando is talking about how if Johnny Depp dies, he will give other people courage to live their lives, and all that stuff that he improved, death as transfiguration, inspiring. It's inspiring to people who witness an anguished death, which reminded me of a much better movie that you also can't recommend to people called Martyrs.
Oh, yes.
And Martyrs is an incredibly graphic, violent movie about people who, in that movie for religious purposes, who push, and of course women, because it's religion, push women to the very edge of their lives in agony, hoping that something transcendent will happen. And that movie is horrifying. It's incredible. It's compelling. It has something to say about that. And it's just kind of funny that what Marlon Brando tossed off 15, 20 minutes into the movie as an improv is actually more compelling than what the whole movie ends up being. And I know that because somebody else 10 years later made that movie.
And that's a movie I would highly recommend. And that's a movie I would never want to watch again. And it's funny you mentioned that film because I've been watching this guy on YouTube that breaks down all kinds of crazy films. And he broke down Martyrs and loved it and said the exact same thing that we all say, which is, man, you got to see this film, but I don't want to see it again. But yeah, I mean,
it's pretty intense.
It's the idea. And, you know, Brando says that in the trailer. That's the 28 seconds. Right. Just Brando talking about birth to death and why this is such an important thing. But again, there's no payoff. The movie's just way too long. Is it already when it ends? I knew when that elevator shut. I go, this is okay. And Johnny Depp did this thing on every time that elevator, if you watch it again, which I don't know if you'll ever watch it again, as the elevator's coming down, he does this little head dip. So both times that elevator came down.
Oh, and the last time,
and the last time it comes down, cuts to black, end of movie. And like I said, my stupid, silly brain wanted him to kick the shit out of that guy Bell because he was such an ass.
Yeah, it's not that kind of movie. He did kick the shit out of Luis Guzman, who threatened his family.
Yes, he did, because Luis Guzman attacked his wife, and he deserved what he got. But anyway, I enjoyed discovering it. I did not enjoy the watch. But again, it's Brando, it's Johnny Depp, both compelling. And I just think all the background characters were quite fascinating, except like they could drop the Frederick Forrest and Max Perlock, just cut that whole thing out.
Look, I brought it because it's a weird little piece of film history that's obscure, because the very, very famous guy who made it and stars in it and wrote a draft of the script doesn't want you to see it because he didn't like what critics said.
Yeah. And
there are much, much worse movies. I mean, I saw much worse movies at Cannes that year.
Yeah.
Not much worse. That was definitely on the lower end, but it's not a stupid, mindless, thoughtless movie.
No, but it is amazing that I went to Sundance one year for a company that I worked for. And when you see movies at screenings, a lot of them get away with murder. Literally, like in the shows, and there are movies you never
literally.
Well, no, but there are movies that never, you go, geez, I saw this film at Sundance and it never came out. Well, there's a reason for that. You get caught up in the hoopla, and it becomes, when you're in that crowd and they're doing questions and answers after, it becomes a thing.
Right.
And
you're in the room with the people who made the movie. Yeah. And sometimes the movie is that good. Yeah, and sometimes you get caught up in it. And I think, it's natural for people to get excited about it. I can think of one movie that was a huge hit at Sundance that was, at the time when it sold for $5 million for the rights to the movie. No, it was $10 million. It was just an absolutely crazy number for this incredible independent film called The Spitfire Grill. And we all know how that deal turned out.
That's so funny. Yeah. There you go. So, I mean, people, I think they get caught up. It's Johnny Depp. So you want it, I'm sure there are people all around him want this to be a huge hit for him. And it just wasn't. And it's too bad. But, I think he went on to do fine. Johnny Depp, other than a crazy, wacky divorce that he had, he's got a franchise under his belt. He's, I loved him in The Tourist. I don't know if you ever saw that with him and Angelina Jolie.
I didn't. That looked fun, and I never got around to seeing it.
It's just like one of those, just go for it. Just have fun. And I like he does cameos in 22 Jump Street or 21 Jump Street,
funny.
Whatever.
Funny.
I like his spirit. The guy's got spirit. And
he's a unique guy. That's for
I know
sure.
He's crazy probably, and
except he's I think maybe my favorite Johnny Depp movie of all of his movies. I really think the first Pirates of the Caribbean is just a fantastic, old-fashioned swashbuckling adventure, and the sequels blow all that. But I really, really like the first one. But I don't know if you ever saw Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man.
I have not.
That's a love it or hate it kind of thing. Really? But man, that might be Jarmusch's best movie up there with Ghost Dog. And it's really just an incredible movie. And Johnny Depp is the center of the movie. He's basically a guy who gets shot and is dying the whole movie. And he's sort of a quiet accountant type of thing, and what's going to happen as he goes into the American West. And it's like, before Deadwood and stuff, it's like a look at, this is what it was really like, and it was really violent and really awful and really dirty, and it's also a gorgeous black and white film, which I know is your favorite.
I'll take a look. I loved him in Blow. That Ted
Yeah,
Demme
he's a good
movie.
actor.
Yeah. I thought he was terrific. And Max Perlich is in that one too, although recognizable and
Recognizable.
So, yeah, I know the movie's a little, but the backstory on the making of this film or the creation of this film, kind of crazy, right? I mean, I read a couple of things, but what do you know?
It was going to be, Disney at the time. I guess they still have some version of it, but they had Touchstone Pictures, which was that they would use to release a little more adult stuff and Jerry Bruckheimer movies and things like that. So they were going to do an adaptation of The Brave, and it was going to be directed by a first-time director named Aziz Ghazal. He was a UFC film school graduate, and this was the beginning of his career. And he was going to start shooting his first movie in December '94. I'm sorry, in early '94.
Yeah, and they were going to use the USC film school rental library, rental equipment.
It was going to be a whole thing and launch his career and be good for the school and all this stuff. And then I don't know the details, but in December of '93, he killed his wife. Excuse me, I backed off the mic. He killed his wife and daughter and then took his own life.
Jesus.
So that stopped the production of the movie for a while until Johnny Depp decided that he wanted to do it and wrote his own new draft of the script and then made it his directorial debut. But there's, for a movie that's not that exciting, there's definitely some exciting stuff that has swirled around it and some tragic stuff that has swirled around it. And I know you don't like backstory and you think it's pretty amazing. It is sad. It's very sad.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of movie. It's not a happy movie.
Yeah.
So.
And, and it feeds into his whole thing about protecting his kids in this. I mean, it's sort of kind of connected. I don't know, but connections everywhere. So there you go.
I mean, it's a movie about human tragedy that before it was even made, it was already connected with a terrible tragedy. So
crazy. Anyway, and it's still 2.5 hours long. 2 hours long.
It's only 2 hours and 3 minutes. It just feels like 2.5 hours.
I think that's a fun, interesting watch. I'm not going to say fun watch, but interesting. So good job on that one.
If people watch this episode, maybe that'll be enough for them.
Now it's time for the next part of the show, 2x4. Now it's time for 2 movies, 4 words. Fight, dance, dive, die, nightclub, foam, fangs, glitter. All right, let's go with nightclub, foam, fangs, glitter. What do we got here? What did I pick?
You have made an excellent choice.
Okay.
It's a movie called The Lure.
Oh, I've been dying to see this. No, wait a second. Back up a second. I know a little bit about this film. A little bit. Are these the same? What?
Yeah, but I
is
did
this
it for
a de facto?
You
Wait, is this a de facto Ralph's request? Because I've been begging for The Lure.
You've been begging for it, so I gave you a backdoor Ralph's request of The Lure, which is a movie about mermaids who don't explain the joke. Don't do it. Mermaids who come out of the water. They come to a nightclub. They become big stars. They eat people. It's Polish and it's a musical.
Oh wow!
And
I've been dying to see this.
Anything quite like it.
Okay, I can't wait.
I have the Criterion Blu-ray. It's available on the Criterion streaming service.
Oh, terrific!
Lots of great stuff about it. I admit
you knew I wanted this film. You knew I was going to request this down the road.
I have offered it to you a couple of times and you haven't picked. You've picked good stuff. Like you picked Dogtooth instead of The Lure.
I'm glad I saw
picked something else at least one other time. So it's I'm not going to try to give you this one's crappy, this one's The Lure, but you've earned it. You're ready.
This was always the second. So I missed. How many times did I miss this one? A couple?
At least twice.
Holy cow! And I've been dying to see it too. Excellent. Yeah. Well, good job. De facto.
I think you'll enjoy
Backdoor, as you say. All right.
Backdoor Ralph's request.
Good job. I will not explain it. Good job.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to watch this one. It's all over. As a matter of fact, if I look at, let me look at it. Let me search it. The Lure. Because I am now a proud member of
streaming service.
I am now a proud member of Criterion, which is just amazing. I can't. Holy cow! Look at all that deleted scenes.
I'll bet.
The movie, another deleted scene. Oh my God! Oh, I'm gonna have fun with this one.
They put a lot of extras.
A lot
of
deleted scenes too. Off the hook.
Well, that is something that probably doesn't exist for The Brave, because they left it all in there.
Brave, you can barely find. You go to IMDb The Brave, it doesn't come up. You really got to dig down and go, Johnny Depp directed something at one point. But this one is all over it. So they must, okay, I can't wait. All right. Very excited.
Definitely something you've
Very
definitely never
excited.
seen anything like it.
Good job. Good pull. All right. Have a safe week.
You too.
Do some more cult filming. This is awesome. And we'll see you next time.
All right. See you for your backdoor Ralph's request next time.
All right. Good one. I will not explain it.